So, Hare Krishna. So, today we are supposed to start from sloka number 17. So, we'll try to finish till 29 today, if possible. So, let's start like from 17, like chapter 5, 17 to 26, liberation by focus on the super soul. Okay. One who in knowledge devotionally fixes his consciousness on the super soul and remains materially equipoised attains liberation in the near future. So they're just saying if one who has that knowledge, and with that knowledge, if he devotionally, if he does devotional service, fix it in the consciousness, how? On the super soul, and then he remains materially equipoised. If he remains equally poised, equipoised means he is like same, steady in nature. Okay, whatever may be the situation, he is like equipoised. If he is like that, then what happens? He attains liberation in the near future. So let us see one by one shloka. Okay. So actually, if we see from 17 to 22, Mataji, Hare Krishna, are you able to see the screen and hear me, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Perfect. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So from 17 to 22, what we'll see is like equal vision of a yogi. Okay. And how, like, what are the qualities and what are the symptoms? Okay. So what we see is like basically like summary from 17 to 22 is like with purified intelligence, the yogi sees all beings equal, be it a brahmana, dog, elephant. Okay. He doesn't run after temporary pleasures. He enjoys higher spiritual happiness. Okay. So all this we'll see. And next is like, we'll start with the 5.17. Let's read the shloka. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tannishtas tad parayanaha gachanti apunar avrittam vittim gnana nidhuta kalmashaha. So let's see the translation. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Okay, so now let's see here. The first point they are saying, absorbed in Krishna. Okay, how the yogi devotee, he fixes everything in Krishna. Okay, what did they say? Prabhupada say in the translation, when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed. So what are fixed? Intelligence, that is buddhi. So what intelligence? He understands that Krishna is supreme. Then mind. Mind is what? Atman. So always his mind is used to think of Krishna. And next to faith, Nishta. Okay, Tan Buddhayas we saw, Tad Atmanas we saw, Atma is mind, and Tan Nishtas. Nishta means faith. He has unshakable trust in Krishna's protection. Okay, the devotee has unshakable trust in Krishna's protection. And next, what? Parayanaha. Okay, what? Shelter. Okay, refuge. So he surrenders his life to Krishna. He takes complete shelter of Krishna. Okay. And what is there in the second two lines? Your first is like how you get absorbed in Krishna through intelligence, mind, faith, and by taking shelter. Okay. That is how you get absorbed in Krishna. How a devotee gets absorbed in Krishna. And the second two lines is how he is cleansed of misgivings. From how, by following the first two lines, how is he cleansed? Okay. So how is he cleansed of misgivings? The doubts, sinful reactions, and ignorance are destroyed by knowledge. How? Gnana nirduta kalmashaha. So all the kalmasha are removed. How? Gnana, by gnana. So doubts, sinful reactions, and ignorance are destroyed By knowledge. So Gnana Nidhuta Kalmashaha. Then what happens when all the sinful reactions, ignorance is destroyed? What happens? Then the devotee becomes free from repeated birth and death. What is that? Apunar avrittim. Gachanti apunar avrittam. So what happens? Then the devotee becomes free from repeated birth and death. See how simple, like a devotee life is, how he's absorbed in Krishna. What happens after by absorbing in Krishna? So he becomes pure. When he becomes pure, obviously he becomes liberated. He does not have to undergo the repeated birth and death. So what does Prabhupada say in the purport? He mainly focuses on, he says that once one is firmly situated in Krishna consciousness, liberation is certain. There is no question of returning to the material bondage. Okay, so this is what Prabhupada concludes in this shloka. Okay, so like there is an analogy to just illustrate this shloka, like iron in fire. See, when you place an iron rod in fire, it becomes red hot, so hot that that rod is no longer iron. It becomes fire itself. Okay, it becomes so hot, it's no longer iron rod now. It becomes reddish in color and it becomes like fire itself. It gets the properties of fire itself. Similarly, when mind, intelligence, faith are absorbed in Krishna, the devotee becomes spiritualized and he becomes free from impurities. See, the rod now is no longer iron. It has become fire-like. It has become reddish, fire-like. Like that, the devotee is no longer bound to the material world. He gets liberated. Okay, so like that. This is 5.17. So let us see what what it means. See, when the devotee fixes intelligent mind, faith, and life in Krishna, what happens? Doubts vanish, sins are destroyed, and he becomes liberated. He never comes to this material bondage. Okay, so this is 5.17. Now let's come to 5.18. विद्या विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे कविहस्तिनि सुनी चैव स्वभाग्ये च पंडिता समदर्शिनः. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and dog eater, outcast. Okay, you can see in the picture, right, how a sage, humble sage, he sees everybody, a cow, a dog, dog eater, elephant, brahmana, everybody he sees on an equal level. Okay, because he has that true knowledge. So what is equal the vision here? Samadarshinaha. Okay, Samadarshinaha means he sees with, a Pandita sees with Samadarshinaha, equal vision. What he sees? He sees that does not see the bodies are equal. Obviously, bodies cannot be equal because we are clearly seeing different bodies. We are seeing the body of a cow, body of a dog, body of a brahmana, body of a dog eater, elephant. So obviously, he's not saying they're same on body level. No, but what the soul inside is same. It is soul is part and parcel of Krishna, and but the body is just like a dress. Okay, the actual person is the soul. We are what? Souls. We are not this body. A soul and body is different. Okay, this body is like a dress for the soul. That's all. Okay, but we are actually the soul. Okay, so here what he sees on equal vision, because he sees the soul is there in everybody, and the nature of the soul is pure. Okay, so it is not like one soul is bad, one soul is not bad, good, like that. No, the soul by nature is pure. So he sees that the soul is present, and soul is part and parcel of Krishna. So he sees that soul and super soul are present, and hence he sees everybody with Samadarshinaha, equal vision. Who sees? Pandita, a wise person, because he sees beyond the external body. Okay, why he sees? Because he has that knowledge. So he recognizes that every soul has the same spiritual nature and has the same right to Krishna's mercy. Okay, and here Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada in the purport says that real spiritual knowledge removes false distinctions of caste, species, or social position. Okay, devotees naturally respect all beings, okay, and they work for the spiritual welfare. So a devotee, he never sees that, oh, he is a beggar, I should not give him Krishna consciousness. Oh, he's a rich man, okay, I can give him a Krishna consciousness. Like that, he doesn't distinguish whether rich or poor, or whether whatever be whether he's a Hindu or a Muslim or an Indian or a foreign, he doesn't care, because he sees everybody on the platform of soul. Okay, so he naturally respects all living beings and he works for the spiritual welfare. So he wants to give everybody Krishna consciousness. He sees everybody on the platform of soul. Example, we see a devotee offers prasadam to everybody, everyone, right? See, whether he doesn't see whether he's giving a prasadam to a professor or a street dog. Why? Because when prasadam is given, all souls benefit because they come in contact with Krishna. Because prasadam is what the Uchishta offered to the Lord, which we get as prasadam. So when we give that prasadam to everyone, they get purified. It's like they get in contact with Krishna. Okay, so a true Pandita, a wise person, he does not discriminate by body. He sees all beings, whether human, animal, low-born, as equal souls, part of Krishna, and he thinks that everybody deserves respect and compassion. Okay, so in 5.17, what we saw? Fix the mind, faith, intelligence in Krishna. So what happens when you fix your mind, faith, intelligence in Krishna? You get purity of vision. You get purified. Then in 5.18, what are we saying? With that purity, what happens to that yogi or devotee? With that purity, he sees equal vision of all living beings. He sees every living being as equal on the level of soul. Actually, I told you, right, from 17 to 22, it is a chain. So if this happens, this happens. If this happens, this happens, like that. So in 5.7, we saw fix mind, faith, intelligence in Krishna, then you get purified. Okay, so with that, in 5.18, with that purity, that yogi or devotee can see with equal vision of all living beings. Okay, so now let's see 19. Okay, this is a summary. Okay. Okay. So let's see 5.19. Ihaivatar jitah sargo yesham samye stitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stitaha. So translation, those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So what are they saying here? Okay, so sameness and equanimity. Equanimity. So what does sameness and equanimity mean? The devotee, he sees poor or rich or human, animal, saint or sinner as equal. So because he understands every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. So such a person is already liberated. Okay, so they have conquered birth and death because they no longer identify with this temporary body, but with the eternal soul. Okay, a conditioned soul, what does he think? He thinks I am this body. The soul thinks that it is the body. But when you come to that spiritual platform, you understand that body is different, soul is different. And you know that I am soul. I am not body. Okay. So they have conquered birth and death because they no longer identify with this temporary body, but with the eternal soul. So he can enter into the spiritual world after his death. Okay, and they said that another point is they are flawless like Brahman. So the Lord is flawless, means he's beyond. Flawless means what? He's beyond material faults. Okay, the God is beyond material faults. So they are saying even the devotees are flawless like Brahman, like the Lord. Okay, so they are not affected by all these. What are flaws? They are not affected by attraction or hatred or friend and enemy, nothing like that. All these dualities, they are not affected. Again, they are situated in Brahman. So here Brahman means what? They are situated on the spiritual platform. Brahman is like, here it means to say that spiritual platform. Even now. Okay, so it's not that, see, because they are in this state where they see everything in sameness and equanimity, they are liberated by living on this earthly planet. It's not that after liberation they will get that they will get that spiritual platform. Only after they get liberated and then they go back to God and then they get that spiritual nature. No, that what they are trying to say is, in this material world itself, they are liberated when living on this earthly planet itself. Okay, because they become flawless like the Lord. They don't have any hatred or any friend or enmity, hatred or attraction, nothing. All these qualities are not there. So such a person is being on this earthly planet, he is already liberated now. It's not that he has to, only after death he will get liberation. No, he's being in this now at this moment, because he has all these conditions, he satisfies all these conditions, he is liberated at the present moment. Okay, so that is what they are trying to tell. So it begins here in this life itself, when one's mind is fixed in equanimity. Okay. So now we can see the flow, right? So 5.17, what we saw, fix the mind, faith, intelligence in Krishna. So then what happens? When you fix mind, faith, intelligence in Krishna, you get purity. Okay. And 5.18, what we saw, that purity leads to equal vision of all beings. So they see everybody on the same plane because we are all souls. And then in 5.19, what do we see? With such equal vision, liberation, they get liberation here in this material world itself. Now itself they get. That's what they are saying in 5.19. They get liberation here itself, when they are living itself, not after death. When they are living itself, they get liberated. Okay, this is 5.19. Okay. Liberated in the sense they become spiritual in nature. They go back to Godhead, and thus they are already situated in Brahman now itself. Okay, they have developed, they get liberated, and are in that spiritual nature. They go back to Godhead. Okay, so now let's see the continuation of the flow. 5.20. Na prahrishyet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha apriyam, sthita buddhir asumudo, Brahma with Brahmani sthitaha. So let's see the translation. The person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Okay, so what is 20th sloka saying? He is beyond the dualities of joy and sorrow. Okay, it's pleasant, and it's not that he's happy when he gets something pleasant or laments when he gets something unpleasant. Okay, so first point they're saying here is beyond, he is a devotee, is beyond the dualities of joy and sorrow. So in this world, generally we get attached to pleasant things and we get disturbed by unpleasant things, right? But a Brahmavid, so here in the shloka they're saying Brahmavid Brahmani Sthitaha. So Brahmavid is a person, one who knows Brahman. Okay, so he does not get carried away by such dualities. Okay, so that's what they're saying first. So he's not affected. It's not like if he gets too happy, he jumps into the air when he's happy, and when he's sad, oh no, nothing like that. So he's not affected by the dualities. So a devotee is not affected by such dualities. Next, what they are saying, steady intelligence. Okay, what's sthira buddhi? They're saying sthira buddhi asammudo. Okay, they have steady intelligence. So such a person's intelligence is like fixed. He knows he's not the temporary body, but the eternal soul. So whether gain or loss, honor or dishonor comes, he remains steady. Okay, sthira buddhi, he is steady. In all dualities, he is sthira buddhir. He is like steady. Okay, his intelligence is always fixed. Okay, next, what is that? Unbewildered, asammudo, who is unbewildered. Okay, so ordinary people, they identify with this body and get bewildered by temporary happiness and distress. So they get too much excited. They get ordinary people, when they get what they want, so they fly in the air, they jump, and when something unexpected happens again at the same rate, they go down. But one who is Brahmavid, like he realizes his spiritual nature and he is not at all confused. He is not at all bewildered. Okay, because he knows what his position is. Because his soul, he does not get bewildered. He does not get confused. Okay. Next, Brahmavid is saying what is saying? Who has all these qualities? A Brahmavid. So who is a Brahmavid? Brahmavid is like one who knows Brahman, who knows the science of God, is called Brahmavid. Okay, such a person is situated in Brahman. So he's situated in Brahman means spiritual platform or spiritual consciousness. Okay, so this means he's liberated when living. So when on this earthly planet itself, he is living. He is liberated. So he is Jivan Mukta. Okay, when living on this earthly planet itself, he is liberated. Okay, so here they are saying what, like, let's go again in that flow. What is that flow? First, in 5.17, what did we see? When you fix your mind, faith, intelligence in Krishna, you become purified. In 5.18, we see that when you become purified, you see everybody with an equal vision. Okay, a dog, Brahmana, Chandala, everyone on an equal vision. And next, in the 5.19, what do you see? With such an equal vision, what do you get? Liberation. Here in this material world itself, you get. Okay. And then with that, when that liberated person stays steady amidst dualities. Okay, such a liberated person, we said he is liberated here in this material world itself, right? So in Shloka 20, we see that such a liberated person stays steady amidst dualities. Okay, so it's a flow. It's like it is related, one related to other. Okay, so because he's liberated in this material world, in Shloka 19 we saw. So 20, what happens with that? That liberated person, he's steady. He says steady in dualities. So we saw the dualities, right? He does not get bewildered. He's self-intelligent. He does not cry for a lament. He does not rejoice. So all that. Okay, so he doesn't. So now let's see 21. So the symptoms of a self-realized person. Okay, so 21st, the shloka is not given. So let me read the shloka from the book 1 second. Bahyasparseshu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Okay, so let us see the translation. So such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Okay, so what are they trying to say in 21? Okay, such a liberated person. We saw he's lived in this world itself and he's free from dualities, right? So such a person, what he does, he is detached from external sense objects. What? Bahya sparsheshu asaktan. Asaktan Atma. So he is detached. Bahya sparsheshu, external sense objects. Bahya sparsheshu means asaktan. He is not interested. He is detached. So he is detached from external sense objects. Okay, so ordinary people, they look for happiness in this, in external things. See, in the material objects, they look for happiness. Like they see for sensory enjoyment in like eating, touching, seeing, hearing. Okay, but a self-realized soul is not attached to such temporary pleasures. Okay, because he knows these pleasures are temporary, he is already on that permanent happiness. He is achieving that blissful spiritual ananda. So why does he want these temporary, fleeting material pleasures? So he is not at all interested in these temporary pleasures. Next, what are they saying in the shloka? Vindati atmani yat sukham. He finds joy within. A devotee, he finds real happiness is found within the self, not outside. Okay, and this inner joy comes from realizing one's spiritual identity. So when do we get this joy? When we think we are soul and we develop a connection or a relationship with Krishna. Okay, or as long as we are attached to these material objects, we don't get that inner joy. Only if we are detached from that material sense objects, then we get that inner joy. Okay, because that comes because when you identify yourself as soul and you develop a when you identify yourself as a soul, you try to develop a connection with Krishna, with super soul. Okay, and Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Okay, so Brahma Yoga means linked with the Supreme Krishna through spiritual consciousness. Yoga means anything you connect spiritually. That is yoga. So Brahma Yoga means here you are being linked with the Supreme through spiritual consciousness. Okay, the self-realized soul remains connected with Brahman and experiences that higher taste. Okay, so here they're saying, see, as long as we are the symptoms of self-realized person in that, they're saying ordinary people, they get attached to these sense objects. Okay, but a self-realized person, he is detached from all these sense objects which are temporary. They give temporary happiness and he rejoices within himself. So he detaches from sense objects, material sense objects, and he finds that inner joy when he realizes that he is the soul and he develops a relationship with the Lord. Okay. So then what happens? He becomes a Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. So then the self-realized soul remains connected with Brahman and he experiences higher taste. Okay, so now he develops a relationship because he knows that he's on the platform of soul and the duty of the soul is to serve the super soul. Okay, so he is in contact with the Brahman and so by serving him, he experiences that higher taste. Okay, and generally, Prabhupada writes in his purport, the highest pleasure in the material world that we get is sex pleasure. So a materialistic cannot work without his pleasure. See, a material person cannot stay in this world without sex. But a Krishna conscious person can work with great vigor or energy without sex pleasure. He avoids sex pleasure. Okay, Srila Prabhupada says spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. Okay, what does Srila Prabhupada say? Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. And he says this, what is this? Prabhupada gives the example of Sri Yamunacharya. Let's see what that is in 318 on second. Yeah. So Sri Yamunacharya, a great devotee in Krishna consciousness, what did he say? Yad avadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde nava rasa dhamani udyantam rantumasit tad avadi batanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikarah sushtu nishtivanam cha. So what did he say? What did Yamunacharya say? Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. So, we can see how a devotee is not at all interested in sex pleasure when compared when he serves the Lord and he gets that ever new pleasure. So, he's least bothered about sex pleasure. He feels like spitting at it, at the thought of it itself. Okay, so you can imagine how much pleasure is there in Krishna consciousness compared to this sex pleasure. Okay, so next, and he enjoys eternal one. Next symptom is of a self-realized person is he enjoys eternal happiness. Okay, material happiness is what? It is temporary. So it ends when the object is gone. Okay, and spiritual happiness being related to the soul, and Krishna is unlimited and he is unending. Okay, so spiritual happiness is like never ending. Why? Because it's related to the soul, because both Krishna and the soul are unlimited and unending. Okay, so a Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. Okay, he does not enjoy any sense pleasure because he knows that it is temporary. Okay, when because he being a liberated soul, he knows that he's a soul and he can develop happiness when he does devotional service to Krishna. And that happiness is permanent. For example, we can see in the picture here, right? Haridas Thakur. So he was so much, he is also called Namacharya. Daily, Haridas Thakur, he used to chant 192 rounds. Okay, that is 64 into 3 times, 192 rounds he used to chant. So he because he got that taste for chanting. Okay, what happened once? Some person who didn't like Haridas Thakur, who was jealous of the fame of Haridas Thakur, he sends a prostitute. Maya Devi herself comes and tries to allure Haridas Thakur. But Haridas Thakur says, "Ma'am, I will surely satisfy you, but I have to finish my rounds of chanting. As soon as I finish, I will surely satisfy your desire." So that prostitute, she waits, but it becomes morning and still Haridas Thakur doesn't finish chanting his rounds. So again, next day, evening she comes, night she comes. Again, Haridas says, "Sure, look, ma'am, today, for surely, please, I still didn't finish my rounds. Today, I will surely finish my rounds. I try to satisfy you." So again, same thing, the prostitute who sits there listening to Haridas Thakur chanting. Again, it becomes morning. So she again goes away. Third day she comes. Okay, third day she comes and like again she evening she comes. Again says, "See, today for sure I will finish my rounds and I will surely give you my sangatya, my association. I will definitely give you." And then when Haridas Thakur was chanting, because every day she was listening to a pure devotee's chanting, it is going inside her ears, she gets purified. Okay, and then she falls. She realizes what a great sin she's doing through such a pure devotee. And then she falls at Haridas Thakur's feet and says, "Please forgive me for this sin that I was doing. I wanted to do with you. Actually, this person told me to do like this." Then Haridas Thakur says, "I know everything. I would have actually gone the first day itself, you would have come. But since I wanted to liberate you, I waited all these 3 days so that I could bring you to the Krishna conscious platform." Okay, and then what he does, he initiates her, and then from that day onwards, this prostitute, she also starts chanting 192. She gets purified. Her name and fame spread, and she starts sitting and chanting in the same cave where Haridas Thakur earlier was chanting. So Haridas Thakur, he leaves that place and he asks her to continue chanting and preaching about Krishna. So from this we can know that how See, they are not attracted to the sex pleasure or whatever. When that prostitute came, they're not interested in material pleasures. When they get that higher taste, they are no longer interested. When they get that spiritual taste, they are no longer interested in this material pleasures. Okay. So this is 5.21, the symptoms. Okay. So in simple words, what are they saying in the previous shloka? A liberated person, he does not run after pleasure of the senses because they know that they are temporary and they are mixed, they give us suffering. Instead, what do? They experience higher bliss inside through meditation, devotion, and connection with Krishna. Okay, this inner joy which they get when they practice Krishna consciousness is everlasting and is much, much greater than material pleasure. Okay, so now let's go to shloka number 22. Okay, let's see what some more symptoms of self-realized souls are. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha-yonaya evate adi antavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end. So the wise man does not delight in them. Okay, so first two lines of the shlokas, what are they saying? Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. Okay, so samsparsha bhoga. So they're saying sense pleasures are sources of misery. Okay, what? Sense pleasures are sources of misery. So all material enjoyment, what are they saying here? Samsparshaja bhoga. So pleasures born of sense contact are temporary. Okay. So they appear to give happiness, but ultimately produce suffering. Okay. Example, what I will take a small example. So if you eat too much, what happens? It causes indigestion or lust. What does it lead to? Overindulgence in lust leads to anger, because when you have a lust or desire to get something, you don't get it. Lust turns into anger. And attachment leads to loss and sorrow. So when you get attached to any object or any person or anything, what happens? It finally, and the person or object doesn't stay forever, right? Anything in this material nature is temporary. So it is prone to expire or leave us, right? So attachment leads to loss and sorrow. Okay, so that's why they're saying here, the sense enjoyment is temporary. See, either we go away from that world, from the world, or that object goes far away from us. Okay, so something or the other has to happen. So it creates, it is like temporary. The happiness is temporary, and at the same time, it gives us suffering, pain and suffering. Okay, and next, what they are saying, it is temporary in nature. Adi antavantaha. Okay, so these pleasures have a beginning and an end. Okay, we've seen, right? They those who are you take a cell phone, it has a start and end date. You take a person, you have a start and an end date. Okay, so all pleasures, material pleasures, are temporary in nature. So even they are temporary, right? For example, buy a cell phone. See, either the cell phone after a certain amount of time, it has to go away. Either it is stolen by somebody, or it gets repaired, or it becomes old or something. Or what happens? We have to leave that cell phone. We leave our body. So either ways, so it is temporary. So our pleasures have a beginning and an end. So they depend on the contact of senses with their objects, like tongue with taste, okay, skin with touch, like that. Okay. So when the contact is gone, the so-called happiness also is gone. Okay. So here what they're saying, because when the contact is gone and the happiness also disappears. So what are they saying? The wise avoid them. Nateshu ramate buddha. Buddha. So what do the wise do? They avoid them. An intelligent person, Ramate Buddha, an intelligent person does not get trapped in these fleeting enjoyments. Instead, they look for higher spiritual happiness, which is permanent. Okay. And next, what they're saying, we'll just try to see the difference between spiritual happiness and material happiness. So, spiritual happiness that is in connection with Krishna is unlimited and eternal. Whereas material happiness, it's like a mirage. First, it looks attractive. Okay. But leaves one empty. Okay, see, when you buy a cell phone, initially you're so fond of that new model, it comes into the market, looks so attractive for you. When you buy it but leaves one, in the end, it is temporary. Either it is stolen by somebody or it undergoes repair. So what happens? It leaves you in pain and suffering. So it leaves one empty. Okay. So this verse basically explains why yogis and devotees control the senses. Okay. We think that they are controlling the senses, so they are missing out something. But no, they are not missing out anything. Okay. But by choosing a higher lasting bliss, they are choosing a higher lasting happiness, bliss over a temporary flickering pleasure. So many of us think, oh, these yogis, they're controlling senses, or we are so lucky, we are enjoying all these material pleasures. That is what we think. But the yogi feels sorry for us. In fact, they are having a higher taste that is permanent. And the material people, the conditioned souls, they think they are enjoying this temporary flickering happiness. Okay. So what are they trying to say? So the material pleasures, they are temporary, short-lived, and mixed with misery, pain. They begin, end, and leave. Okay, they give us emptiness. Initially, it may look like very attractive, but in the end, it is like causing us pain. Okay, so therefore, the wise people don't waste time in material pleasures. Instead, what do? They seek spiritual happiness, the joy of realizing the self and serving Krishna, which has no beginning or end. It is limitless and unending. Okay, so they give importance to that. They don't give importance to temporary material pleasures. They give preference to higher spiritual bliss. Okay, that is obtained by practicing Krishna consciousness, by doing devotional service to Krishna. Okay, so how is this? It is compared. Prabhupada gives an analogy. It is like chewing sugarcane that has already been chewed again and again. See, but they never satisfy. I mean, see, once you chew again and again, so actually after chewing so many times, there is no juice. Again, you chew that, you get no juice. You get only frustration. So, material pleasures are like that. So, repeat it again and again, but they never satisfy us. Okay, so the intelligent person stops chewing and looks for real sweetness. Okay, so he looks for that real sweetness, where he can get that spiritual bliss in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so this is 22nd shloka. So here in the picture we can see, right, how we see the fireflies. It sees the firefly in front of it going into fire, and it gets burned, and it falls, dies. But still the firefly, by its senses, like eye, it is so attracted to that fire, still it goes in and it also dies. Okay. So, and next we see deer, right? Deer is attracted by the song. So the hunter, he plays a different, a melody which attracts the deer. So hearing that voice, it comes to the hunter, and the hunter traps the deer. Okay. And the fish, tongue. So the fish, it has so much amount of food and water. But see, it has that jihva chapala, they say, right? Tongues. So it goes to this food that is given to the hook. because of it has that sense of taste for the tongue, it goes and gets trapped in that hook, and it eventually dies. And you can see that honeybee, right? In the lotus, that smell is so nice. It is so, what you say, mesmerizing, that it just tries to sleep there on. I mean, like because they say it's intoxicated by that smell. It forgets about time and it becomes evening. And in the evening, what happens? The lotus flower closes. And what happens? Like the elephants or something come and they trample it and they kill it. See how sense enjoyment is so flickering, like we cannot control it and just flickering. Okay, and we can see the elephant, the she elephant attracts the male elephant by its touch. Okay, it touches and somehow finally brings it, and finally it is trained, the she elephant, so that the he elephant falls in that pit. Okay, so we see how each single type of sense is engaged only. There is so much of destruction. Imagine for a human person, all the senses are attacking. So how horrible our situation is. So the only way to come out of this is practice Krishna consciousness. There is no other way out. Okay, 23rd shloka will be. Naknoti haiva sodum rak sharira vimukshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayuktaha sasukhi naraha. The translation. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Okay, so what are they saying here? Okay, so they're saying the body is like a box of senses. Okay, eyes, ears, tongue. So these senses naturally generate impulses. Okay, like what are they saying in the shloka? Desire and anger. So what are those impulses? Kama. So kama means what? Lust, selfish desires, and krodha. The anger, when desires are not satisfied, you get anger. So if a person can withstand and not act under these strong forces, he is qualified as a yogi. See how nice, I mean, like, but it's difficult at the same time. See, if a person can control his lusty desires and he can control his anger, okay, when the situation arises, he is qualified as a yogi. Okay, such control leads to real happiness even while living in this world. It's not just not after liberation. You are liberated here in this material world. So you can get that real happiness even when living in this world. Okay, not that after death you get liberated and then you will get that happiness. No. Even while living here, you will get that spiritual happiness. So the practice of Krishna consciousness, that is hearing, chanting, and serving, gradually gives strength to desire, to control desire and anger. So we don't have to make any separate endeavor to control our anger and desires, lusty desires. So what we have to do, just dovetail. We just have to practice Krishna consciousness. When we practice the hearing, chanting, and serving of the Lord, we are engaging our senses in the service of the Lord. So obviously the senses will get purified when we engage our senses for Krishna. We are not engaging for our own sense gratification. So we are engaging for sense gratification of Krishna. So they get purified. Okay, automatically. So all these anarthas will be removed. Okay. So there is an analogy of fire and water. So desire is like fire. It's compared to fire. Okay. See, a fire, it keeps demanding more and more fuel. See, the more you pour fuel, the more it blazes. Okay. Anger is like a sudden flood of water. It is compared to a sudden flood of water. See how you get angry all of a sudden, right? So that anger is compared to a sudden flood of water. Okay, what does sudden flood of water do? Destructive, and it sweeps everything away. So if a person tolerates without giving fuel, okay, so you don't add fuel to the fire and without allowing floods. So it means that without allowing floods means what? You don't react immediately to anger. So then the mind remains balanced. Okay, so when you get lusty desires, what you have to do is you have to stop it. Okay, you have to control that desire. You have to stop it. And anger, when you get angry, I mean, like when the other person is getting angry, you don't react immediately. Okay, you should not react immediately. Okay, then the mind remains balanced. Example, you have this food temptation. See, for instance, you are fasting on Ekadasi and someone comes to your house and offers you your favorite pizza. Okay, so now the tongue and stomach have that urge strongly. They say, eat it now. See, just this one Ekadasi, right? So many Ekadasis you've done. So you got the pizza. I mean, pizza is there, eat it. But you resist. You don't eat. Why? Because you practice that tolerance. So you remember the higher purpose. What is the higher purpose? Okay, when you restrict, when you control the urge, the desire, okay, so then you know that you are doing it for a higher purpose. So when you control your material desires, what happens? The result is you get inner happiness and spiritual strength. Okay, and the next one more example is given. See, anger in family. A family member, suppose for instance, any of your family member, your father or your brother or anybody, criticizes you unfairly. And then what happens? The mind wants to shout back in anger because unnecessarily they're criticizing you. So you want to reply back angrily or shout back at them saying that, no, I didn't do all this and all. But instead, what you do? You pause, you take a break and you just pause, chant Hare Krishna within, and then you respond calmly. Okay, when you get angry, they say just stop. Don't react, just stop. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra and then respond calmly. So by controlling anger, you protect relationships, okay? And you keep your peace, okay? See, one more example we can see. In student life, a student may desire for entertainment. Generally, a student is attached to this cell phones, games, video games and all. So, like if he is getting attracted to entertainment before the exams, okay. So, generally when you have exams, you focus more on your exams. But at that time also, if he has a desire for entertainment, like see the phone and play video games before exams. For example, if he controls that urge and focuses on study, okay, then that brings him long-term happiness. Why? Because he focuses on his studies, he get good marks. So gives him happiness. Okay, so this is one example. So similarly, spiritual tolerance gives us eternal happiness. So here the student is controlling his entertainment, phone and games, he's controlling. Okay, he's tolerating because he has exams and then he studies so that he gets good marks, which gives him long-term happiness. Okay, and that like that, spiritually, if you tolerate, it gives you eternal happiness. Okay, so you are away from all these material pleasures. Then you come to the spiritual platform. You understand that you're a soul and you have a relationship with this super soul. And when you do devotional service, you awaken that eternal happiness within you. So you get that eternal permanent happiness. So what is Prabhupada trying to say that a true yogi is not one who escapes to the Himalayas, but one who living in this world learns to tolerate and control lust and anger through Krishna consciousness. Okay, so he does not, Prabhupada never encourages people going to the Himalayas and doing self-realization for themselves. So he says, a true yogi is not one who goes to the Himalayas, but one who is living in this world and who learns to tolerate and control lust and anger through Krishna consciousness. So what does he get by practicing Krishna consciousness? He gets true happiness and liberation. Okay. So now let's see. And how long do I have to tolerate the pushing of the senses? So this is 24 to 26. They're giving the gist. Okay. So how long do I have to tolerate pushing of the senses? They're saying we should control the senses, right? Till what time do we have to control the urges of the senses? Till what time? Until the death of the body. Okay, till that time. So, where in the 25th shloka it is said, where one gets the strength to tolerate the sensual urges by focusing his happiness, activities, and goals inward. Okay, and then 26 they are saying he engages in purifying his external activities by working for the benefit of others. Okay, what happens when he works for the benefit of others? The last one, he gets his assured liberation. Okay, so now let's just see in detail 24 to 26. Okay, so here 24, 25, 26 are there. Shlokas are not given. I'll read from the book and we'll try to continue from there. So 24, Yo antah sukho antar aramas tatantara jyotir evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto atigacchate. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward and is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So what are they saying in Shloka 24? So Srila Prabhupada explains when a yogi tolerates and does not indulge in lust and anger, what happens? The mind becomes calm. Okay. In that calmness, he starts to taste the higher happiness through Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness? Chanting, hearing, remembering Krishna, about Krishna. So this inner happiness is independent of material ups and downs. Okay, obviously, right? The inner happiness comes when we know that we are a soul on the platform of soul. Okay, so it is independent of the material things. I mean, it is not affected by the material ups and downs because he's on the spiritual platform. Okay, so the yogi is peaceful even in disturbance. See, that is why we see a yogi when he's practicing, sorry, for not the Krishna conscious devotees, anybody like they, we see, I mean, like in the TVs or something like that, YouTube, we see yogis, they are able to sit in a place full of fire. They surround themselves with fire. Some yogis, they sit on ice. They bathe at 3 or 4 with ice cold water. They break ice and they bathe with ice cold water. They sit on ice. How are they able to do all that? Because they are immune to the material disturbances. They are above, they are beyond that. They are now in the spiritual platform. That is why they are able to control all that. Okay. So there's an example. See, suppose you think of a candle in a glass lamp. Okay, so if the glass is dirty with smoke, that means lust and anger. Okay, the light can't shine. Okay, but if you keep the glass clean, okay, glass is clean, that means you control the urges of lust and anger. So the inner light glows brightly. Okay, so like that. And one more example is, suppose a student controls the urge to waste time on a phone. So as a result, what happens? She studies and she gets good marks, so which gives her deep satisfaction. So similarly, in spiritual life, so when you tolerate these material pulls like lust and anger, you get that inner bliss. Okay, so only when you can control the material pulls, you can get that inner bliss. Okay, if you are on that material platform, no, you can't get that spiritual bliss. To get spiritual bliss, you have to go beyond that. Okay, you have to get detached, or you have to purify your anarthas. Then you get that inner spiritual bliss. So 25, let's see the 25th shloka. Labante brahma nirvanam rishayah kshina kalmashaha chinnadvaida yatatmanaha sarvabhuta hite rata. So what are they saying? Translation: those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve what? Liberation in the Supreme. Okay. So, in Shloka 25, Prabhupada is trying to explain that the yogis who are free from sins, what? Kshina kalmashaha. Okay, and Kshina means free from kalmashaha, sins. So, and what are the yogis free from? Dualities. Chinnadvaida. Okay, which means free from dualities means no envy, no false pride, like that. And then yatatmanaha means they are self-controlled, they're self-realized, and who delight in the welfare of others. Sarva bhuta hite rataha, and who delight in the welfare of others. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. So what happens if the yogis are free from all of these? They attain Brahman realization. So what is Brahman realization? They get spiritual freedom and peace. Okay. So what does Prabhupada say in the purport? See, a true devotee of Krishna automatically works for the welfare of all living beings by spreading Krishna consciousness. Okay, because giving others spiritual knowledge is the highest welfare work. So more than feeding our body, it nourishes the soul eternally. Okay, so Prabhupada in this purport, he gives more focus on preaching Krishna conscious to others. So he says that giving the spiritual knowledge is the highest welfare work. See, Prabhupada says don't give importance to your body. See, more, yeah, you have to feed your body, obviously. You have to keep your soul and body together to practice Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, see, Prabhupada says, don't feed the body. See, more than feeding the body, it nourishes the soul eternally. Okay, so there is an analogy like how, just like the sun, see, it doesn't discriminate. It gives its light and heat, sunshine to everyone equally. Okay, whether it is a saint or a sinner or rich or poor, right? It shows its light and heat everywhere. It does not discriminate. Similarly, the devotee is free from dualities and works for the welfare of all beings. It's not just for his family that he works or that particular group he works. He works for the welfare of all beings. Okay. So just as the sun removes darkness, a yogi removes the darkness of ignorance through spiritual guidance. Okay, so we all were once ignorant. Okay, but when we came in association with the devotee by the mercy of our gurus or Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we came into came into light. We came to understanding that we are not. We at least came to the understanding theoretically, at least, that we are not this body. We are the soul. Otherwise, we would be in the concept that we are this body and we would be like competing, we would be working, doing Ugra Karma, like working like donkeys and asses, and to run our life. We think that be leading a comfortable life, giving all comforts to this body is all in all. That is the goal of life. Okay, but when we come in association with devotees, we come to know that it's not the goal of life, and that body is not us. We are actually souls, and we have a higher purpose. What is that? When we develop a relationship with the with Krishna, we start doing loving devotional service to the Lord. Okay, so and this is the only way out for us to get liberated and go back to Godhead. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. Okay. Okay. See, for example, let's see, a teacher may have students of different abilities in a class. I mean, like different level of intelligent people, poor, weak people, everything. If she shows love, I mean, if she loves only the topper and neglects the weak ones, that is duality. But if she helps everyone equally, patiently guiding even the weakest, then she acts like the yogi. She's working for the welfare of all the beings. Okay, and a doctor, if you see, a doctor doesn't ask whether the patient is rich or poor or Hindu, Muslim, Indian or foreign. He treats anyone in need. Similarly, the yogi, he doesn't see caste, creed, or nationality. He sees them as souls and he gives them a Krishna consciousness. Okay, so a devotee, he goes out to share Krishna's message, okay, through chanting, distributing prasadam, books, distributing books, preaching Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. So, working for everyone's eternal good. Okay, so what are they saying? By controlling lust and anger, the that is in 5.23, right? The yogis find inner happiness, that we saw in 5.24. Then in 5.25, that when we get that happiness, naturally it flows outward as universal compassion. So we help others come into Krishna consciousness. Okay, such a person becomes like the sun, benefiting all from dualities, and he becomes peaceful and situated in Brahman. Okay, so this is like again a chain 23, 24, 25. Okay, see how by controlling lust and anger in 23 we see. So when you control lust and anger, what do you get? The yogi finds inner happiness because you are coming from, you are detaching to the material sense enjoyment. I mean, material pleasures you are leaving and you're coming to the spiritual. So the yogi finds inner happiness. So then what happens when you get that inner happiness? That happiness naturally flows as universal compassion. So with that compassion, what the yogi or devotee does, he preaches Krishna consciousness to every living being because he knows that every being here, they're suffering. So being compassionate, he tries to preach Krishna consciousness so that everybody gets liberated and everybody can go back to Godhead and live a blissful life. Okay, so now let's see 26. Okay. Yeah. Kama Krodha Vimuktanam Yatinam Yatachetasam Abhito Brahma Nirmanam Vartate Viditatmanam. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Okay, so what is they saying? So Prabhupada is giving the qualities of such devotees, like we saw above, right? So what? Kama Krodha Vimuktanam. Such devotees are free from material desire and anger. Yatinam. They are true renunciants, not by dress, see, when we say true renunciates, it is not, see, some sannyasis, they wear orange robes just for a living, outward bodily appearance. So here, yatina means true renunciants, not just by dress, but by discipline. They follow. Okay. Yata chetasam. Chetasam means with controlled mind. Viditatmanam. That is self-realized. So they know that I am spirit soul and I am part and parcel of Krishna. So what happens when we know all these qualities result? They always experience Brahman happiness. That is Brahma Nirvanam. So liberation is not something far away. So we all may think that, oh, we don't know when we'll die. Only when we die we'll get liberation. It's not like that. So we can get liberation here. It is not far away. It is present here and now. If you have all these qualities, you are liberated here when you are living here in this material world itself. Okay, not that after death only you get liberated, right? So that is what is in. So Prabhupada is saying that in Krishna consciousness, one naturally becomes free from lust and anger. When you engage your senses for Krishna, when you engage, give your senses a higher engagement. Okay, so the devotee does not artificially suppress desires. He does not like what karma sannyas person. He artificially suppresses, right? But for a Krishna conscious person, what he does not have to suppress or do any separate endeavor. He just engages his senses in the service of Krishna. So by doing that, automatically their senses and everything is purified because we are engaging everything in the service of Krishna. It's like how the river meeting the ocean. Okay, a river rushing towards the ocean is restless. Okay, like a mind driven by lust and anger is how it is restless and fully disturbing, right? But once the river merges with the ocean, it becomes still and peaceful. Okay, similarly, when the soul merges in the service of Krishna, okay, in the service of Krishna, devotion service of Krishna, it becomes free from restlessness. Like how enjoying, it enjoys ocean like peace. Okay, how the ocean is always calm, right? And the rivers are like gushing, gushing, and restless. So what happens when the soul merges into when the soul does devotional service to Krishna, it becomes free from restlessness and it enjoys ocean like peace. So it becomes peaceful. Okay, so an example is given. One example we'll see. See, a devotee, he feels anger. See, he's getting angry, a devotee. But instead of shouting, what do? She chants Hare Krishna softly and dovetails. He redirects that energy into Krishna, into some kirtana or seva. Slowly, the anger melts into devotion. So this is the practical application of being Kama Krodha Vimuktaha. Okay, instead of shouting, you can pause, you can chant the Hare Krishna mantra, because of which your anger tends to subside. And then you try to deviate your mind to doing some other work. Okay. So what are they saying here? Again, we'll see that complete flow from 5.23. So what happens when you control less lust and anger? You discover that inner happiness. In 5.24, we saw that. So in 5.25, when we get inner happiness, what do we get? Because of compassion, we share Krishna consciousness with everybody. And then what happens in 5.26? When we become peaceful, fully free, then we become fully free, peaceful, and fearless. So they live in liberation even now. Okay, so this is the 26th shloka. So in 27 to 28, they are talking about Ashtanga Yoga. So actually the next sixth chapter is about, in detail we'll see about Ashtanga Yoga. But here they're just giving in one these two shlokas, 27 and 28, what is Ashtanga Yoga? Okay, so let's see. how they can get liberation through Ashtanga Yoga. So let's see 27 to 28. Sparshan kritva bahyam chakshuscha ivantare bhruvo pranapanau samau kritva nasabhyantaracharinau yatindriya manobuddhir munirmoksha parayanaha vigatecha bhayakrodho ya sada mukta eva sa. So let's see the translation. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in the state is certainly liberated. Okay, so okay, here in 27, what are they saying? The Ashtanga Yoga process they are telling in 27. What is it? They withdraw senses from objects. That is, they stop chasing pleasures. So they do it artificially. But how we do in Krishna consciousness, we don't have to restrain artificially. We just engage all our senses in service of the Lord. Okay. So, but here, Ashtanga Yogi, he withdraws his senses from the objects. He stops worldly pleasures. And what does he do? He fixes his eyes between his eyebrows. Okay. And he regulates breathing. He does pranayama, that is balancing inhalation and exhalation. And then he controls mind, senses, and intelligence. Okay. And in 28th shloka, what have they given? Qualities of Ashtanga Yogi. He is free from desire. He is free from desire, fear, and anger. And what does he want? He wants only moksha, liberation. He does not want material enjoyment. Okay. So what is Prabhupada saying here in this purport? See, the mechanical system of Ashtanga Yoga, it is very difficult to follow in modern times. See, in this busy, restless life, it is very difficult to follow Ashtanga Yoga. And but see, all these different kinds of exercises, going up, turning around, all we can't. I mean, like, and you have to go to the forest and you have to sit there in a lonely place, and you have to do all this with your eyes focused at the eyebrows, and you have to do the inhaling, exhaling movements. So everything, your eyes have to be half closed, not fully closed or fully open. It should be half closed. See, it's very, very difficult to focus in this restless, busy life. But what does Prabhupada say? Instead of practicing Ashtanga Yoga, but the same result is very easily, more easily achieved by direct Krishna consciousness. That is by chanting, hearing, and serving. Why? Because chanting the holy name naturally controls the mind, purifies the desire. When you chant, that is why chanting is so important. It purifies us. It removes all our anarthas. Okay? And it gives us that love for Krishna. Why do we chant? Always want to chant. Because it gives us that love for Krishna, which is our ultimate goal. Okay? And when we chant, what happens? It purifies our desires and it fixes attention on the Supreme without doing all these Ashtanga complicated body postures. Okay? These Ashtanga yogis, they do all these complicated yoga body postures, which we don't have to do. All we have to do is engage our senses in the service of Krishna. That's all. Everything, all the anarthas are purified, and we can go back, we get liberated, and we can go back to Godhead. So instead of sitting in the Himalayan caves, a devotee in daily life, he chants the holy name, he offers food to Krishna, he serves the devotees, serves the Lord. So his senses are engaged in Krishna's service. So there is no need to artificially withdraw the senses. Okay. So this is a little bit of Ashtanga Yoga. But next, from next class, we'll see how in Ashtanga Yoga in detail. Through Ashtanga Yoga, how we can get liberation. Okay. Now, last and most important shloka, the peace formula. How can we attain peace? Peace on the platform of liberation. So a person in full consciousness of Krishna attains liberation from the pangs of material miseries. Okay, so what is the peace formula? A person who's in Krishna consciousness, he can attain liberation from this material world. So let us see the last shloka of chapter 5, and with this we'll complete this chapter. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gnatva mam shanti mrijjati. So translation, the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain. So when you know all this about Krishna, what do you get? You attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So this is the very important shloka, and this is the peace formula. The 3 P's. Okay, it's the peace formula. So what are they saying? What is the peace formula? When do you get peace? Bhoktaram yagna tapasam. So Krishna is the bhokta of yagna, sacrifices, tapasa. Okay, or Krishna is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, austerities, and work. Okay, and when you know what, second is what? Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So Krishna is the supreme proprietor of all planets and universes. Okay, so when you know this also, and what is the final thing you should know? Sukhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna is the best friend and well-wisher of every living entity. So when you know this, when you know that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the proprietor, when Krishna is the friend, so what is the result you get? You become peaceful. There is no more envy. Okay, no more envy, competition or anxiety. So what does Prabhupada say in the purport? See, in material life, everyone is disturbed because everyone claims to be the proprietor, enjoyer, or friend. See, he says, this is mine, this land is mine, this wealth is mine, she is my wife, they are my children. So he tries to be the proprietor, he tries to be the enjoyer or friend. But when we stop competing with Krishna, see, why are we actually in this material world? We were jealous of Krishna. So Krishna was always enjoying in the spiritual world. And we too also wanted to enjoy like Krishna. We were envious of Krishna. We were jealous of Krishna. So that's why Krishna, he tried to explain to us, see, you are actually meant, your Swarupa is meant to serve me. You were created to serve me. You can never become like me. But still we were like adamant. No, Krishna, I still want to enjoy separate from you. So then Krishna, he had no other way. So then what? He created a separate material world where we can enjoy separately from Krishna. Where we think we are actually the proprietor. When you buy a house or a land, you think I am the proprietor. I have the right to enjoy all these material objects. Okay, so he thinks he's the proprietor, enjoyer, or friend. But when we stop competing with Krishna and accept his position, and we don't try to compete, we come to know that what a Swarupa is. We are servant of the Lord. Okay, then we become peaceful. As long as we think we are master and we try to enjoy, we are still suffering in this world. But when we come to know our true Swarupa, that we are eternally servant of Krishna, so we are naturally become peaceful. See, for instance, if in a family, if their children are fighting, thinking that, okay, this is mine, that is yours, you cannot take it, this is mine. Okay, there is chaos if they are like this. But if the children accept father as a provider and owner, and they share everything harmoniously, then there is peace. So similarly, when we recognize Krishna as a supreme father, he's the owner, enjoyer, and he's a friend, human society can live peacefully. Okay, so this is the peace formula. When you know that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the proprietor, not you or me, right? We are not, we are nothing. So when we come to know that, till now we are in this material platform, we are thinking that we are the proprietor and we are the best friend of everybody. That is why we are suffering in this world, separate from Krishna. But when we come to know that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, friend, then we get that peace, because we are no longer competing, right? We are no longer envious. We know our position as serving Krishna, and we engage in devotional service to Krishna. So we come back to our eternal status, the swabhava. What is our swabhava? To serve the Lord. Okay, so then because that is our natural instinct, so we get happiness when we serve the Lord. So this is the peace formula. Okay, so with this, we end the class, chapter 5, and tomorrow we'll be starting chapter 6.